Hey guys, how you going? This is BillyEatWorld again, and thanks for taking the time to check out another one of my Battlefield 5 videos. Just remember though, if you do like what you see, you can help out this channel by hitting subscribe and the notifications button, and of course, you can feel free to leave a comment about anything you see in this video. Now, in today's video, we're actually going to tackle a question that I get asked a fair bit, which is Battlefield 5 a tactical shooter? And, well, to some of you guys, the answer might seem pretty simple, but just bear in mind that DICE have added in a lot of new features to this game, and they've changed the core mechanics a fair bit from BF1. So I really think it's an interesting question to revisit now, because even if Battlefield 5 isn't really in the genre yet, it's got to be getting close, right? And so that's what we're going to take a look at today. How close is it to being a tactical shooter, and what would DICE have to change, if anything, to get it over the line? Okay, so to kick off, I think the obvious thing that makes tactical shooters different from arcade-style shooters is that, surprise, surprise, they require you to use tactics. And so, in a nutshell, that basically means they're the kind of games where you'd think that using your brain should count for more than, for example, twitch reflexes. With that being said, that's obviously not always the case because, I mean, for example, you've got to have quick reflexes in a classic tactical shooter like Counter-Strike. But if you've played CS at all, well, you'd know there's a lot more going on there, and you've got to use your head quite a bit more for a bunch of other reasons instead. One thing I would say that does define a tactical shooter, though, is that they usually all have fairly hardcore damage models. And in previous Battlefield games, that hasn't always been the case, but as you know, in BF5, the TTK has been sped up quite a bit. Once again though, time to kill isn't everything because I think most people would agree Call of Duty is a game that isn't a tactical shooter but does have a pretty fast TTK. And so I think the key point to make here is that even though you die really quickly in a game like Call of Duty, it doesn't punish you for dying, whereas a tactical shooter would, maybe with a longer respawn time or with no respawns at all. Now, another trademark of tactical shooters is that they also usually feature objective-based game modes, just like Battlefield 5 does. And I think if you compare BF5 with clearly a tactical shooter like Insurgency, you'll actually see that even though they're called different things, they have very similar modes. And I should mention that in the past, Battlefield has also had small-scale competitive modes like Defuse, which are similar again to modes in Rainbow Six Siege and CSGO. But with that being said, if you're thinking maybe size might be a factor here, well, I don't think it is, because I mean, just take a look at a game like Squad, which is even bigger again than Battlefield, and once again has very similar modes. Also, speaking of Squad and Siege, well, if you've played either of those games, you'd know another thing they have in common with BF5 is that they both have a fortification system. And I think probably a key point to be made here is that tactical shooters rely heavily on the players using the environment to survive, and this kind of system adds a lot to that. Also, I should mention that in a lot of these games, just like in Battlefield, there's also gadgets and things like non-lethal grenades to help you survive and complete objectives. And I think surviving and completing objectives at the end of the day are the key words here, because I think that's where the fun of tactical shooters really is, rather than just in getting kills. Now, bearing all of that in mind, getting back to the original question, well, I'd probably have to say that I don't think Battlefield 5 is a tactical shooter yet, but it's definitely the closest I think we've seen in the series by far for a long time. Because although it's not as tactical as most tactical shooters are, you definitely do have to use your head a lot more than you've had to in previous games. Also, like I said, most of the game modes in this one are very close to what you'd see in established tactical shooters anyway. And not just that, but way more than in other games in the franchise, BF5 really pushes teamwork this time around, and it's got quite a lot of new features to assist squads. With that being said though, I think probably the main thing holding it back from being more firmly in this genre is that DICE changed their vision for it and made it more casual. Because I think originally the way things like non-regenerating health, ammo attrition and spotting were designed really made you think a lot harder about what you were doing, and now they've been scaled back, it's basically back to square one. And that's, I think, where something like hardcore mode could come in at a later date to reintroduce these features in a much more punishing state. And I think along with that, if they also tweak the respawn time a little bit as well, that'd force players to be smart to stay alive, and it'd also make things like the new buddy revive system and fortifications more important as well. But anyway, guys, I guess that just about wraps up this video, so make sure you let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Do you think Battlefield 5 is a tactical shooter? And most importantly, if it was, do you think it'd be more fun or less fun than it is now? As always, though, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and please feel free to check out the links in the description if you want to see any more of these videos. And also, don't forget you can find my Twitter and Discord links down there as well if you want to keep in touch. And as always, until next time, see you later, and have a good one.